Hi guys, Storyhawk here again. This time reading some more revenge stories from Reddit, so sit back, relax and enjoy. Cheers. Half the class fails the midterm after cheaters copy me. I don't have a problem helping classmates. I really don't. I even tutored several classmates during my final semester of undergrad because they needed the help. They all ended up passing their classes with my assistance. This story comes from a particularly tough business information systems class during my undergraduate education. The students in this class were mostly non-technical business majors, so this new material wasn't at all similar to anything we'd learned in other classes. Needless to say, most of the students were struggling, including me. I still had a 4.0 in college at this point, though I finished with a 3.99. And I was willing to put in max effort to keep my stellar GPA. I started studying hard. I made my own Quizlet sets, I read the book every night, I finished assignments a week early, and I did outside research. After grinding it out in this class for about a month, I was working on an assignment in a room designated for quiet homework time, and that's where our story begins. Several other students from my class were there, and working on the same assignment I was on. Judging by the size of exasperation, the irritated whispers and requests for help, they weren't having much success. Having studied relentlessly for a month, I was having an easier time of it. As I got up to go get some water from the fountain in the hall, a classmate asked for my help. I told him I could do that, and I'd be right back. I returned a few minutes later to find what I can only describe as a bunch of busy bees happily working away. See, this was strange since they were hopelessly stuck 2 minutes before, but whatever. My classmate tells me he figured it out without me. Now, I'm not an idiot, so I know the 5 people in this room probably copied my work off my computer when I went to get water. Scumbag move number 1. But as it turns out, no one in the class needed help the next day or the day after. Whoever in the study room had stolen my work had forwarded it to most of the class. Scumbag move number 2. I don't mind being helpful, but I hate being used. So I made a plan to get back at the people who had stolen my work. It didn't take long to organise my plan and carry it out. Here's how it went. 1. I changed an answer on the next assignment by multiplying by -1. $1,500 became -$1,500 on this question. 2. The next week, I left my computer in the same place as before and went to get water, just like I'd done the week before. 75% of the people in my class out of 40 people put -$1,500 as the answer to question 3, which was definitely incorrect. 3. I began studying relentlessly for the midterm. Our professor had said he wouldn't adjust the weight of the test. Something like your score out of 50 on a test with 60 points available, so your score of 40 becomes 80% instead of 67%, and if anyone scored particularly well. This class was difficult, and no one was expecting to score anything over 75%. So all my classmates figured the weight of the test would be adjusted. My plan was to wreck the curve, quote unquote, even though it's not a curve, and deny everyone the adjusted weight by producing a sufficiently high score. 4. I recruited a classmate who hadn't stolen my work to study with. Together we aimed to score high enough that our professor couldn't adjust the weight of the midterm. Here's how it all played out. No one who copied me realised the answer was incorrect. Every last one of those idiots submitted the wrong answer to question 3. This next part surprised me, but my classmates began insisting the class was unfair, too difficult or rigged, and launched these complaints at our professor. One day after class, I had the following exchange, since I was the last student out of the classroom. Professor: OP, do you think this class is too hard? Me: honestly, this class is hard, but if people spent as much time studying as they did complaining, they'd be fine. They really just need to go get work. I thought the same, deciding on the spur of the moment of my next move. I also happen to know that most of the class incorrectly copied my work on the last assignment. Question 3 should be a net income of $1,500, not a net loss of $1,500. I put down the wrong answer initially, everyone copied me, and then I changed the answer later. I think you can reasonably conclude that anyone with negative $1,500 as the answer cheated off my incorrect work. Professor: I figured that all copied, but I didn't know you were the source. Anyway, thanks for your candor and your dedication to the class. I didn't cheat, so I don't know what happened to those who did, but depending on the class, they would either get a 0 for the assignment or a plagiarism citation, so they got one of those. Fast forward to test day, and I'm ready to go. I know since most of the students are business majors, they need 70% to pass the class because it's a required course. Hurting them on the midterm will go a long way in helping drop their grades. I take the test. I'm the first one done, and I leave pretty sure I've done enough to deny the class the exam weight adjustment. A week later, we get our exams back. Tests are distributed all around me with scores on the top in red ink: 68, 71, 70, 66, 75, 67, and these are the smart students. Someone on the end of my row takes a test from our professor and lets out a sigh as he begins passing a test down to my row. It stops on my desk. 93%. I've won. Some idiot in the front of the class: So, is there going to be a curve? Professor: Nope. Me: What was the high score? Professor says: 93%. Average score for the exam was 71, so a good number of people didn't get a passing score. Maybe they made up for it on the final and passed, but I don't care. I got mine. Made an asshole redo an entire school year. So during the final trimester of my last year in high school, we had to do a group project that needed to be finished by the end of the trimester, and was evaluated and graded in front of a jury of teachers, instead of an exam. I was paired with the biggest douchebag in class. Imagine a really entitled, arrogant asshole. See, every time we were supposed to work on the project, he would have some excuse to not show up and demand I would work on it alone and make sure the project stayed on track. In the beginning, I tried to complain and talk to the teacher, but she would just say, "Make it work, it's your project." After a while, I stopped planning work meetings altogether. He would call me to ask how the project was going, and I would say something like, "Yeah, it's going well. I think it's almost finished," or "I'll send you the presentation to prepare for the jury." Little did he know I had a trump card in my hand. The project counted for 40% of the final grade. Me doing well in the class already got about 55 of the other 60%, so even if I got a 0 on the project, I would still pass the class. The arsehole had less. A lot less. After it became clear he was just going to use my work to pass the class and the teacher didn't care, I decided to throw out all the work for the project and keep the arsehole in the dark. That last bit went a lot easier than I expected, as he was happy with me telling him that everything was on track. In the last week before the jury presentation, things became harder. The arsehole wanted me to send the presentation so he knew which part he had to present. I managed to stall a few days with excuses, but 2 days before the jury presentation, I finally sent him an email with a PowerPoint, which was actually an MP3 file with a changed file extension. The next day, I switched off my phone. In the evening, I called him back with the excuse my phone had issues and he was panicking that there was something wrong with the PowerPoint. I told him not to worry. I'll check it out tonight and have a working PowerPoint for tomorrow. I would come to school at 8 AM, so he could practice his part of the presentation before the jury appointment at 9 AM. The next morning, I arrived at school a little before 9 AM, having switched off my phone again. When he saw me, he approached me with a mix of panic and anger. But before I could explain anything, we were called into the room with the jury for our presentation. I just told the arsehole to not worry and let me do the talking. We greeted the jury and I started the introduction. The original idea of today was for us to present our project, XYZ. But since I already have enough points to pass the class and Mr. Arsehole over here couldn't be bothered to put in any effort, I decided to skip it and instead have a nice day off today. That concludes our presentation. Thank you for your attention. I just walked out on 4 confused teachers and one arsehole with a mouth opened so wide it looked like he was trying to eat a club sandwich vertically. Naturally, there was some backlash in the days after that. Teacher called for an explanation, but in the end recognised I was a good student and I indeed already passed the class without the project. Arsehole was angry that he had to study over the summer for a re-exam. All in all, I was happy to have graduated and looked forward to going to college the next year. After the summer, I heard from friends that Arsehole failed his re-exam and that, combined with other bad grades, caused him to have to redo his last year. Karma is a bitch. Well, there you go, guys. Hope you enjoyed those stories. Bit of a school theme today. Wasn't intentional, but hey, we'll take it. Yeah, cheers for listening. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.